As I looked up at the departing flight board, my heart sank. Every flight was delayed, and some were even cancelled due to the bad weather. I had to attend my cousin's wedding, and I was already running late. I had a long journey ahead of me, with multiple connecting flights, and I knew I was in for a long day. Finally, after a long wait, my flight was announced. I rushed to the gate, eager to board the plane and get going. As I entered the cabin, I could sense that something wasn't quite right. The atmosphere was tense, and the passengers all seemed to be on edge. I took my seat and tried to relax, but the turbulence was making it difficult. Suddenly, there was a loud banging noise, and the plane shook violently. I gripped my armrests tightly, my heart racing. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have encountered some unexpected turbulence. Please remain calm and keep your seatbelts fastened." The turbulence continued for what felt like an eternity, and I felt sick to my stomach. I looked around, and the other passengers all looked just as terrified as I was. Suddenly, there was another loud noise, and the plane began to descend rapidly. I could hear people screaming and crying, and I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead. The plane was shaking so violently that I was sure we were all going to die. But then, just as suddenly as it had started, the shaking and noise stopped. The plane began to level out, and the captain's voice came over the intercom again. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have encountered some severe turbulence, but we have regained control of the plane. We will be landing at the nearest airport for safety checks. Please remain calm and keep your seatbelts fastened." We landed at the nearest airport, and as we all disembarked, I looked around at the other passengers. We were all shaken, but relieved to be alive. But as I made my way to the airport terminal, I realized that something was not right. The airport was deserted. There were no staff, no other passengers, not even any security. I began to feel a sense of dread as I made my way through the empty airport. But then, I heard a strange noise coming from one of the corridors. It was a low, guttural growling sound. I hesitated for a moment, but then curiosity got the better of me, and I started to walk towards the source of the sound. As I turned the corner, I was met with a terrifying sight. There, in front of me, was a group of people, their eyes black and their skin gray. They were all staring at me with an intense, unblinking gaze, and I knew that I was in serious danger. I turned to run, but it was too late. They were upon me in seconds, and I felt their cold, lifeless hands grabbing at me. I screamed for help, but there was no one to hear me. I woke up in a hospital bed, surrounded by doctors and nurses. They told me that I had been found unconscious in the airport terminal, and that I had been lucky to survive. But I knew the truth. I had encountered something far more sinister than just a simple case of turbulence. And I knew that I would never be the same again.